Is sleep a complete waste of time, or is it essential if you want to become a good player? Well, think of it like this. You have 24 hours in a day, and let's say on an average day, you spend 8 hours at work or school. Now, you only have 16 hours. But then let's also say you spend 8 hours of that time asleep. So now what began as 24 hours is cut into a third. And with that extra time, you must then divide it up among your social life, your personal responsibilities, your time for relaxing, and finally, your time for focusing on competitive gaming. So let's say this means you only get an average of 4 hours of gaming each day. Now, over time, these hours will definitely add up. But what if someone else with these same commitments and daily schedule were getting 6 hours of gaming time by just sleeping less? Well, these extra 2 hours every single day would ultimately lead to 730 hours over a year. And if we look at getting good at a game from the point of view of total hours grinding, then this player will rapidly achieve a far higher skill level than you. And this is how I used to think about sleep, with inspirations like the YouTuber Casey Neistat and the ex-Navy SEAL Jocko Willink. My younger self used to see rest as an unnecessary luxury, kind of like wasted time that's sourced out of pure laziness. And by overcoming this kind of indulgence of oversleeping, I would be able to regain lost time. I'd be more disciplined, and thus I'd end up being more successful in each area of my life. And quite honestly, there is some good truth to this.
When that alarm clock goes off, there's at least 50% of the time where you just, that soft little pillow is just caressing your head and you want to stay there. And it takes discipline to go, nope, I'm going to get up out of this bed and I'm going to do what I'm supposed to do. And that discipline that you have at that moment, you win that fight. That's a big victory. And then that pattern will carry out throughout the day, because once you're up, well, now that I'm up, I might as well go work out because I'm already up and I feel good that I got up out of bed and I won that battle. Let me go win another battle. I'm going to go get it done.
So there really is massive power to developing the habit of self-discipline. But before you set your alarm to 5 in the morning, we need to look at the arguments on the other side and see what science says about sleeping less. When it comes to your performance in any competitive game, it is evident that your cognitive abilities will influence your game's outcome. For example, let's say you are playing a crucial ranked placement match and you absolutely need to win. Now, whether it's in a MOBA, a shooter, or anything in between, it's undeniable that your level of focus, your reaction time, and your decision making will all play a massive role in whether you play well or get completely destroyed. If your focus slips away for a brief second at any point in the game, you could miss important information on the minimap, tune out an important callout or a ping, and by missing that kind of information, set yourself up for failure. But even when you have all the information, you could still have a lapse in judgment or decision making that would lead to a bad callout, a bad strategy, or a momentary decision during a team fight that gets you killed. But what if you notice all the necessary information and you're making the right calls, but just fail to execute it because your reaction time is milliseconds behind the enemy? Now, research on the effects of sleep can give us insight into each of these 3 factors of focus, decision making, and reaction time. David Dinges at the University of Pennsylvania sought to answer the question how sleep deprivation at various degrees could influence mental performance. To measure the mental performance, Dinges used a very simple attention test to measure concentration. Now, during the test, all you have to do is just press a button in response to a light that appears on the screen. The lights appear quite unpredictably, sometimes quickly and other times slowly. Now, as you do the test, your response and reaction time of that response are both measured. In Dinges' research, they ended up giving this test to subjects from 4 different groups. One group was kept awake for 3 days straight. The second group was allowed to sleep for 4 hours of sleep each night, and the third group was given 6 hours of sleep each night, while that fourth and final group was allowed to keep sleeping a total of 8 hours each night. Now, the test itself is very easy. All you have to do is press a button in response to the light. But when participants were sleep deprived, they would periodically stop responding altogether, as if they didn't even see the flash. It was as if their brains would momentarily flatline. Now, this finding is what researchers would call a microsleep. When your brain is starved of sleep, it's kind of like it tries to gain short periods of rest throughout the day. And during each of these microsleeps, your brain becomes blind to the outside world, causing you to lose all awareness and even control over your motor skills. But the scary part is that you'll have no idea when it happens. In fact, you've probably experienced microsleeps many times, but chances are you can't remember the last time it happened to you. Now, really think about that for a moment. Even a 2-second microsleep at any moment in a game can be catastrophic, causing you to miss important information like flanking enemies or just completely zoning out midway through a fight. And the worst part is you wouldn't even know when it happens. You would just come out the other end of that play questioning what the hell happened. Now, the good news is that those individuals who slept 8 hours every night maintained a stable, near-perfect performance across the study. But the results from the other groups showed severe impairments that seemed to just worsen at each level of sleep deprivation. Now, in my opinion, the most worrying group was the one that is most relatable, sleeping a consistent 6 hours every night. Because it's not that hard to fall into a kind of routine where you're sleeping less with a busy schedule, and many seem to find that 6 hours is good enough to survive. But 10 days of 6 hours of sleep leads to a 400% increase in the number of microsleeps. And by the end of this 14-day study, those results showed no sign of leveling out, meaning that if the study continued, the performance deterioration would likely continue to build up over weeks or months. And if microsleeps weren't enough to scare you, then let's consider how you'd be performing the rest of the time when you're not in one of these microsleeps. Throughout the majority of the day, when you feel you are performing okay, your sleep-deprived brain would be making far worse decisions. Neuroscientists have discovered that although some brain areas can cope relatively well with little sleep, the prefrontal cortex can't. So while you may be able to function relatively well while executing well-trained skills and behaviors, the decision-making part of your brain would be completely impaired, causing you to play into your ego and emotions and become a far more impulsive player. And as your decision-making and playstyle suffer from this, so will your reaction speed. Research has tied sleep deprivation to an 11% increase in response times, equivalent to the increase that you would see with someone with a blood alcohol limit of 0.8, which is the point where they're legally drunk. But while this research is all so compelling, the story of sleep is not over yet. Let's address the other arguments about sleeping less, which is basically acclimating. Now, we all know someone who seems to manage just fine on low amounts of sleep, or perhaps you've had the experience of being sleep deprived and still appearing to perform well while gaming and even outside of gaming. If sleep deprivation is so bad for our mental performance, then what's going on in these situations? Well, if you live near a mountain or do any intense sports training, you've likely heard the term of acclimating to these higher altitudes. Basically, as you climb higher from sea level, there is low air pressure, and thus it means that there's less oxygen available in the air. And this means that your body must then work harder to get oxygen inside your body and then throughout your system. And if you decide to climb a mountain that's say a few thousand feet above sea level, this would cause you to feel short of breath and your muscles would start to become fatigued much faster. But what about people who live at high altitudes? Hundreds of thousands of people in Nepal live comfortably at altitudes over 5,000 feet above sea level. And even tens of thousands of Americans live in small towns with elevations over 9,000 feet above sea level. Many of these are in Colorado. Now, if you live in a city around sea level and then decide to visit one of these towns, you might get what's called altitude sickness while visiting. But with slow adjustments to higher altitudes, your body can actually adapt. Over a few days, your respiratory system will become more efficient at taking deep breaths, and over a few months, you will actually develop more red blood cells to help carry oxygen throughout your body. So with enough time, your body can adapt to extreme conditions like higher altitudes by making physical changes. But what about sleep? Can you become accustomed to less sleep and train your body to perform at peak potential during sleep deprivation? Well, yes and no. While sleep deprived, your brain will try to compensate for the fatigue by increasing stress hormones like cortisol. This might even cause you to feel more energetic and alert than normal. It's as if your body is trying to rev your inner engine. But while these stress hormones will make you feel more energetic, they won't necessarily help your performance. In the research mentioned earlier on the groups of sleep-deprived individuals, the group that slept only 6 hours per night didn't rate their sleepiness as being bad, even as their cognitive performance was going downhill. In other words, while their objective performance was going down, they thought that they were performing just fine. They felt okay even though they weren't. So over time, if you become accustomed to being sleep deprived, you will adapt, but only subjectively, as in the way you feel. Objectively, your performance will continue to decline, and you'll be curious why you're suddenly struggling to achieve a level of skill that you know you're capable of. So ask yourself, is this where you are at now? Have you accepted a low level of exhaustion as your normal? Have you neglected sleep for so long that you feel used to it? If this is the case, then you're leaving a lot on the table. You're not performing at your peak potential. And chances are, even if you feel like you are getting enough sleep, you probably aren't. A sleep study published in Epidemiology indicates people generally overestimate their sleep by nearly an hour. One reason for this is that we don't track our time asleep each week, and when we don't measure things, we kind of suck at guessing. The other reason is that time spent in bed is just not equivalent to time asleep. From the 20 minutes it takes you to fall asleep to the short awakenings you have throughout the night, it's possible that 30 to 60 minutes of your so-called sleep time is actually spent awake. So if you think you're getting 8 hours of sleep, it's likely that you're only getting 7. And if you think you're getting 7, it's likely that you're only getting 6. And these hours of lost sleep really do add up. You see, over time you accumulate something called a sleep debt. Since the recommended amount of sleep for most individuals is around 8 hours per night, anything less than this will begin to affect your performance, not only the following day, but for days or even weeks, depending on your sleep debt. For example, if you lose just 1 hour of sleep each night for a week, that will lead to 7 hours of lost sleep that week, which will ultimately impact your overall sleep debt and level of performance. In other words, staying up to watch one more show on Netflix or play one more game with your friends repeated throughout the week will lead to hours of building sleep debt that you'll need to pay back with more sleep. Now, the good news is that in theory, you can pay back some of this sleep debt by taking naps or getting a few nights of 10-hour recovery sleep. But the best way to maintain consistent performance and play at the top of your game is to simply fix your bad sleep and make good sleep a priority. But here's the thing. Bad habits are hard to break. If you've had poor quality or quantity of sleep in the past, it's not likely that you're going to change this based on knowledge alone. For example, even those who have been diagnosed with preventable diseases due to bad habits like overeating or smoking rarely change their behaviors. So knowing how important sleep is might not be enough to shift your approach towards it. Instead, you need to take specific action. So here are 2 key tips to apply that will help you utilize all the powerful benefits of sleep and actually help you build a better sleep habit. The first tip is to start tracking your sleep. Research shows that when we track our health, like monitoring our blood pressure over the course of a training program or weighing ourselves with a scale while being on a diet, we are far more likely to stick with our new healthy habits. And tracking your sleep is no different. This is because, as visual creatures, we need to see some results in order to believe it. And over time, as you track your progress, you'll begin to see connections that reinforce a healthier sleep pattern. For example, if you notice that you've been building a backlog of sleep debt and notice that you feel more tired and are playing much worse in ranked games, you'll begin to prioritize your sleep much more. Or if you notice the opposite, that your sleep schedule has been on point for a full week, you might also be popping off in your matches and pushing quickly towards a new rank. And being able to make the connection between your performance and the data will help reinforce the new habit. Now, while I've spent well over $1,000 on various smartwatches, smart rings, and other sleep tracking gear, you might want to start a lot more simple. Now, over the past few months, my go-to sleep tracker has actually just been an app called Rise, and this app allows you to track your sleep debt and a lot more, and they've actually been kind enough to sponsor this video. But more information on them at the end of the video. For now, my second tip for you is to set a bedtime alarm. Many of us set an alarm to get up, but most people don't set one for going to sleep. The problem is that it's so easy to lose track of time or get sucked into watching one more show on Netflix before going to bed. But with a sleep alarm, you are reminded every single day when you should start unwinding, shutting off the phone and computer, and getting ready for sleep. And for me, this has been an actual game changer. An hour before I'm supposed to go to bed, my alarm goes off. I give myself a bit of time to finish whatever I'm doing. Then I shut off the computer and put my phone on airplane mode. That way, I'm not even tempted to check my devices as I get ready for sleep. So let's say that you and another player both have the same schedule and time commitments, but they sacrifice 2 hours of sleep each night to play more. Now, that player will get far more hours of training than you, but the quality of their training will be far worse. It will be as if by adding 2 hours, they're losing 3. And scientists aren't the only ones who know this. Basketball legend LeBron James advocates getting 10 to 12 hours of sleep per day, including his naps. Tennis champion Roger Federer notoriously sleeps 12 hours each day as well to stay at the top of his game, and many other athletes from Michael Phelps to Usain Bolt follow suit. So earlier, when I mentioned the power of discipline and inspirational figures like retired Navy SEAL Jocko Willink, I don't think his message of discipline is lost here. But rather than being disciplined to sleep less, the key is to become disciplined to sleep more. If you want to wake up at 4:30 in the morning like Jocko, then great. Just be sure to go to sleep earlier as well. So get disciplined on sleep. Start tracking your sleep, reflecting on your habits, turning off your technology earlier, and giving your brain exactly what it needs to fuel your esports success. As I mentioned earlier, this video is sponsored by the Rise app for better sleep and daily energy. And as you now know, tracking your sleep is a significant step towards building better sleep habits so you can stay at the top of your performance. Now, Rise is one of the best ways to do this and doesn't require buying expensive sleep trackers. When you use Rise, you can simply wake up, check the app, and see how much you slept, how it impacted your total sleep debt, and how that will affect your energy and performance for the day. So, if you had some lousy sleep lately, Rise would let you know that your energy potential is going to be low for the day, and so you might spend more time training in drills rather than ranked games. Alternatively, you might see that your energy potential will be high, allowing you to pack in more ranked games and intense training. Another great feature is the circadian rhythm tracking. This shows you how you will have natural energy peaks and dips throughout the day, which can help you plan when to play your most important ranked games and when to instead focus on drills and training. For example, your first energy peak for the day might be around 10 a.m. to 1 p.m. So that might be when you'd want to focus on important ranked games during that time. And maybe your energy dip would then be between 2:30 to 5:30. In this case, you might want to spend that time much more focused on drills and perhaps even taking a nap. And again, getting sleep insights like this are some of the greatest predictors to manage your performance. And for me, that's why I've spent over $1,000 on fancy health trackers. But an annual subscription for Rise is a fraction of that cost. In fact, right now you guys can get a 40% discount on the annual Rise membership, which just brings it to $35.99. And to get that, just use the link in the description. Plus, all annual memberships now come with a 7-day free trial, so you guys can basically test it out with no risk. So check it out using the link in the description and start tracking your sleep. And of course, I hope you guys absolutely loved this video. If you want to see more from us, be sure to subscribe to the channel. If you want to look into our esports coaching and courses, check out the website. Link will be in the description as well. But for now, keep on grinding, keep on improving, and I'll see you all in the next video.